The Daily Code Snippet. Today we will look at adjusting color contrast in practice by analyzing a site for accessibility issues and remediating the color contrast problems we find. We will use the Web Access Pro Chrome extension to audit the site for accessibility errors and guide our corrections. So for the past month we've been talking about accessibility, and I'm going to introduce you to a tool that we've been developing here to help with determining whether a website is accessible and how we can go about remediating the code in order to help our clients have websites that are compliant with the ADA laws. And so the name of the tool is Web Access Pro, and this is the Chrome browser, and it is an extension that is used as a Chrome extension. And when loaded into Chrome, it can toggle on and off to basically display a summary of what errors are on the site and what needs to be fixed in order to make the site more compliant with the current guidelines for accessibility. As you see, it shows a summary of the different errors that are there, as well as what features are actually good. It will also give you a more detailed explanation of what the issues are, and it will let you know whether the element can be viewed or if it's something that's not visible but is something that needs to be looked at in the code. And then this tab will show you structural elements, just give you a basic understanding of what is here. So we have a header, we have H1, we have a navigation. One of the main issues on this site, which is one issue that we need to discuss, is considered a serious ADA issue, is color contrast. Because for those with low vision, you need to have adequate color contrast for people to be able to see your text. So in this case, the primary color for the site, this gray, does not have enough color contrast as compared to the white background. And this tool is able to let you know, for instance, that the color contrast has a value of 4.38, which is considered to be too low, but we want something that's 4.5. So what we would need to do is find out what gray we can replace this color with in order to improve the color contrast of our site. So we can go now to Adobe Color, which has recently, probably in the last year or two, included color contrast tools for you to actually check your colors to determine whether they have adequate color contrast. So we know that the foreground color is this gray color, A6, A6, A6. And our background color is, of course, FFF, FFF, which is white. Ultimately, what we are seeing is that it's failing. And it's failing at our, we can actually select what level we want to check at. And it's failing at, AAA as well as AA. Right now, AA is the current standard, but we will probably be moving to AAA at some point. So that's something to keep in mind. And although primarily we're looking at color contrast, there's also an option to look at what colors are safe for those with color blindness. So that's another issue that you can check with these accessibility tools. So going back to color contrast, so we can see if we can make this better by adding more gray to see if we can get to a color contrast that passes. So we would have to go to this color, 757575, to reach a passing grade for regular text, large text, as well as graphic components. So, and this is at the AA level. We can also check and see if it passes AAA, and it fails for regular text, but it is enough for large and graphic components, so we would not be able to pass AAA. We would maybe want to apply some of their contrast suggestions to get to that. So if we went to this one, we see it still doesn't pass AAA. Let's try this one. So in order to pass to AAA standards, we would have to apply this kind of almost much darker color than what we are currently using. So we would have to go to 575757 to reach enough color contrast to pass to AAA. Now, like I said, we would have to kind of discuss this with the client. AAA is not the current standard, so they may be fine with something that passes AA. And that might be more aesthetically closer to what the client is looking for. So that would be a discussion that we would have to have with the client, because while passing AAA is a future standard, it's not the current standard. And they may be okay with this point where it passes to large text and graphic components, but not regular text. So what we have done here is gone to the FTP to basically open up the code that goes to control the color in the website we were just looking at. And what I'm doing is going to our CSS file, and we have two main CSS files in this project. One is for the individual project pages, and one is for the global styles, and that governs not only the index page, but also some of the individual project pages. So what we would want to do is find that color and change it out with the color that we found on our color contrast checker that has more contrast. And so we use the find feature in our code editor, this is BB Edit, to find the color that we want, and then we're going to change it to this other color that we would rather replace it to, and we're going to replace all. And we're going to do the same thing in this project folder. And we're going to save both. And by editing directly in the FTP, we're basically making a live change. So it's pulling up all the files that are live, running these websites online. And what I've done is I've duplicated the website into another version that's the accessible version. So this way I'm not changing the code of the original website, I'm just changing the code on a copy of the website, because I want to test my changes first before deploying them to the real website. So this gives me a way to look at the changes live, edit the code without endangering the original code, because anytime you're working with the code, you might break something, and you don't want to break something on a live site. So we've copied the code, and we are basically looking at the code through the FTP and editing it. The CSS files are here in the CSS file. Now that we've done that, we've made the changes, we've saved our file, we can go back now to the website and what we may need to do also is clear our cache, because we've made a change and it may be pulling up, rather than the current site, a cached version of the site that isn't going to have our changes live. So we want to make sure we've done that. And you can already see that this is darker But there are areas where we still see the lighter color. So we're probably going to have to look at what wasn't changed, because sometimes when you replace, you're not picking up all the instances of that color. We are still seeing instances of the 165. And we need to find out where we are still seeing this A6, so that we can change it out to our new color. But you can kind of see the darker version being used in other areas. Like this is darker. So we've fixed it in our navigation. We've fixed it in our description in an individual product page. But let's go down to the bottom and see. We're still seeing a relatively lighter color here. And we have to check if this is a different color gray or if this is the one that we searched for. And then if we go back, we have to check also these elements, these links. So it may be the link color needs to be changed as well in a separate place. And these still look a bit lighter. So is there another spot where it didn't pick up the lighter color, or if this is a different gray that we need to figure out what we need to find. So also we look at, if we look at the color contrast issues, we need to find dot title. We need to check this color here as to whether it is sufficient. And this is the red color, and we're finding that it also needs remediation. We can go back to our AA standard and see. So it actually passes for large and graphic, but not AA. So it may not need much remediation. So this color passes AA, and it fails AAA. So we have to get pretty dark. So this may be an issue with our client to change it to this, to pass AAA, because this is a much darker red than what they're using currently. So I think what I would do in this case is, again, have a discussion, but for the purposes of our demonstration, I'm not going to change it to the AAA standard. I'm going to keep it with the AA standard, because it is a much more drastic change. So we would need to change the red color ED1 C24 to this red color, which is of adequate contrast for AA. So again, we're going to do a search for that. So we've identified the colors that fail level AA compliance and are replacing them in our code. Next, we will recheck the website using the Web Access Pro tool after cleaning up our code and double checking our code adjustments. Presented by Designers Learn Code.